Go ahead.
All right, good evening and welcome to the March 11th special meeting of the Board of Estimate and Taxation. This is a continuation of our departmental budget reviews with a focus on grant requests this evening. Before we take a roll, I will remind the public there is no public comment during these budget review sessions. The opportunity for public comment is at our March 25th hearing. So with that, Madam Clerk, Megan, call a roll, please.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Smith,
Present.
Mr. Abrams,
Here.
Mr. Androsco,
I'm here.
Mr. Constant,
I just promoted Kendrick to a panelist. Am I allowed to answer for him? He's present while he's being promoted.
And his hand is raised.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Mr. Jalret,
Here.
Mr. Kasimis, Ms. Yang.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Marsha, I'm here as well. A little late.
Mr. Constant?
Yes.
Got it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Tom, I'm going to let you lead us through this discussion tonight. So where would you like to start?
Well, Fair Housing had asked to go first, so we're going to jump into that one. Sabrina is here to talk about that. Last year, they asked for $185,164. This year, they are asking for $158,882. And we have, I'm going to share my screen. I know that does not help you, Ed, but it will help the others to visualize, and I'm pulling that up and I will blow it up a little bit. We have Sabrina, her first year attending. You'll recall that Margaret has retired and Sabrina has taken over her position. Jalen Seed also helps to oversee the Fair Housing Office. Sabrina, you are welcome to walk us through the differences from last year's ask and highlight any variances from last year's ask that you would like to bring to the board's attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I also would just like to say I just got a message from Jalen actually saying that the link actually won't allow him to get in. I'm not sure if we're able to.
I will, you can continue, and
Perfect.
in the meantime, I will shoot him another link.
Perfect, thank you. All right. So, hi everyone. My name is Sabrina, and as stated, I am the Fair Housing Officer for the City of Norwalk. I'm just going to give a little bit of background on the office as well as highlight the budget. The Norwalk Fair Housing Advisory Commission and the position of the Fair Housing Officer were established by court order and municipal ordinance in 1986 following a lawsuit brought by the Norwalk chapter of the NAACP against the City of Norwalk. We provide investigation, education, outreach, and policy guidance related to housing discrimination while also supporting the city's compliance with federal and state fair housing laws. The budget request before you reflects a 14% decrease from the previous year, demonstrating our continued effort to operate efficiently while maintaining the services required of the office. Despite this reduction, the demand for fair housing services in Norwalk does remain significant. From July 2025 through February of 2026, the office has handled 144 total complaints, with the majority coming from tenant navigating the rental housing market. This work does help to ensure that Norwalk's residents have access to equal housing free from discrimination, while also supporting the city's compliance with federal and state fair housing requirements. The total ask for our budget this year will be the $154,875. As stated before, it is a 14% decrease due to the fact that this role was not filled last year when the budget application was being brought forth. So the budget did reflect the max totals for the fringe benefit. The person who was hired in this position, myself, did not end up needing to maximize that total fringe benefit, which did help us with a majority of the decrease this year.
Thank you, Sabrina. Questions for Sabrina, please? And I cannot see raised hands, so I would ask you to all just politely help one another as to whether or not you have questions.
Um, I guess I will start. Sabrina, number one, welcome. The CHRO function is a very important function. I understand it fairly well. So my question on the 144 inquiry that you have, how much of those were CHRO related and how much of those were fair housing related?
So the CHRO relation and the fair housing relation are going to be completely intertwined in the sense of fair housing is exactly tied to the civil rights aspect. So the technical answer would be the full amount. If you're asking how many of those have been referred to CHRO, the good thing about this position is that we actually work with education and informal mediation before the need to escalate it to the office of CHRO. Approximately 10% so far have been sent as a formal complaint to CHRO.
Can you explain the difference between a fair housing complaint and a CHRO complaint?
So when a resident of Norwalk is coming to the Fair Housing Office, they are going to come into my office and just explain the situation and some complaints that they're having. The fair housing law itself does encapsulate protected classes. So it helps to fight discrimination in housing. CHRO does not only cover housing, it does cover other aspects of civil housing rights. So it could be, or civil rights, not just housing rights. So you can have a CHRO complaint for working rights, and other genres. When they're coming to my office, it's going to be specifically under the Federal Fair Housing Act.
I'm sorry, so your office is purely fair housing, or will it
Correct.
include, it won't include other discrimination complaints?
My office is the Fair Housing Office, so it does deal with discrimination under housing law.
Okay, but it's purely housing law. So,
Correct.
and so most of your referrals, you help people fill out the application and then submit it to Hartford, where there is a CHRO commission. Is that correct?
No, that is not fully correct. That is an aspect, however, that can occur. Um, so residents can file complaints with federal or state agencies, but having a local office does provide a faster and more accessible support. Many situations can be resolved locally through education and mediation, which is what this office does in fact provide. The Fair Housing Office also helps residents understand their rights and connects them with the appropriate agencies when necessary, which is what I think you keep referring to with the referrals to CHRO.
So does the Fair Housing Office refer tenants who have issues to the state CHRO office?
That is an aspect of what we do. Yes, it does happen occasionally. Correct.
That's an aspect of what your office does, but the Fair Housing Office, do they do the same? Do they, if they have a complaint that needs to go to CHRO, will they send it to you and then you will work with them to file the complaint on a state level? Or will they also help the tenant file their complaint and present it and file it and get an officer at the state level to help them? Was I confusing?
I think that so this is the Fair Housing Office. So the complaints that come here are directly tied to the Norwalk community. So Norwalk residents will contact me. I don't have, other agencies will also forward. We do work with a plethora of agencies within the community. There are often times when, yes, I do forward over those complaints to CHRO. However, it is not the scope of what I do. I think it would be important to notate right here that the office plays an important role in helping the city remain compliant with the Federal Fair Housing Act, the Connecticut Fair Housing Laws, and local Norwalk ordinances. Because the office and the Fair Housing Advisory Commission were established through a court order and municipal code, maintaining these functions do help ensure that the city continues to meet its legal obligations and civil right commitments. As we all know, Norwalk is a very diverse city with a large rental housing market and an increasingly competitive housing environment. So, as housing pressures continue to increase, it becomes even more important to ensure that residents have access to equal housing opportunities and to understand their rights. This office does, in fact, deal with complaints. However, we also deal with education and outreach, with advising other city offices. And fair housing is fundamental about ensuring that every single resident in Norwalk does have equal access to housing opportunities. The work of this office helps to protect those rights while supporting the city's legal obligations and housing stability. So, though we work in collaboration with CHRO often, our duties are separate and distinct.
Okay, so, um, so just bear with me because it's a little confusing. You
Mhm.
started your conversation about a legal, a legal action or a legal something in 1986. Was that a federal law, a state law, or was that a decree relative to Norwalk City individually?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the Norwalk Fair Housing Advisory Commission and the position of the Norwalk Fair Housing Officer were both established by a court order and municipal ordinance in 1986, following a lawsuit brought by the Norwalk chapter of the NAACP against the city of Norwalk. So that made it an ordinance for the city of Norwalk to have both the commission and this position to provide investigation, education, outreach, and policy guidance related to housing discrimination while also supporting the city's compliance with federal and state housing laws as well. So
So,
yes, there was a lawsuit that mandated this position.
and was that, but though, was that a different lawsuit that mandated the CHRO position? That was a consent decree, which I believe was in like the 1970s, maybe 1976.
I am not clear on what would have established a CHRO position as a fair housing officer, considering that they are a state and completely separate department.
Okay, but I think, okay, we'll get to that when we get to the redevelopment agency. Thank you, Sabrina.
No problem. Are there any other questions for me, guys?
Additional questions?
Actually, one more thing, Sabrina, could I get
Yeah.
a copy, please get a copy of the consent decree from 1986?
Yes, I'll definitely send you one. I will. I mean, it is available publicly, but I will ensure that you get a copy of that as well.
Thank you. I know that I can probably find it, but I think it would just help me because you probably have it at the top of your files and I'd have to dig around and probably go down a few blind alleys before I found one.
I will have that emailed to you.
Thank you.
Sabrina, you can, if you don't have Ann's email, you can reach out to me and I'll connect you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tom.
Additional questions? All right, seeing none, Tom, where do we want to move to next?
Up next is the Harbor Commission, but I do not see Alan Kibbe on here. Last year, just to refresh people's memory, they had asked for $10,000. We approved zero. They are asking for $10,000 again this year. I have a hunch that it went to his Norwalk ct.gov email extension, which probably does not get checked as frequently as it should. Oh, Jeff
Hi.
Mangles. Jeff, are you going
Uh,
to speak to this? You are. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, so I am the chair, and Chris
Okay.
McDonald is here. He is the vice chair and the treasurer or financial person. So
Excellent. Thank you.
I tried to stop you before you got too far. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
So anyway, yes, so you have applied. Let me scroll down to your application. Actually, I need to scroll up because you guys were first.
I said that to Chris. We were probably first, and there was a whole, passcode and thing issue, so we couldn't even get in. But
Yeah, we had to go into
I
the
will
front
not
door.
bore you with all the
Kitchen
details
door was locked.
regarding the setting up of all these meetings, but
No, I know.
we are in now. That's the important thing, right?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay, so here it is, fiscal 27. As I just mentioned, the ask is 10,000. Last year, the grant was 0. And there's Jeff Mangles. I should have known. So yeah, you can take it away from here. Talk about what you plan to use the money for if approved, and a little background on what you guys do.
Sure. So on 11/18/25, I was vice chair. So I am currently chair. I just became chair of the Harbor Management Commission last meeting. So that's a little bit out of date, but not at the time of the of that signing. So we have, expenses that are ongoing, which is water quality interns and the harbor master stipend, which is 12,000 and 10,000. 12,000 for the harbor master, 10,000 for the water quality interns. We also want to try to continue building the transient moorings, and that has an impact not only in revenue for Harbor Management Commission, but for the city as well, so that they go out to the restaurants and things. And we have increased our revenue from, at the beginning it was about $2,000, and last year we received over $9,000. So that plan is working. The cost of dropping a mooring, and every 2 years we have to inspect all 9 moorings. We have to inspect all 9 moorings, replacing chain and everything else, and that's quite expensive. But to drop a new mooring, it's about $3,000. We also, I'm sorry. And so $3,000, and we're also, we have just issued a PO for a floating dock, and this is similar to what is up in Milford Harbor, where boats can actually tie up to a floating dock versus doing just a single point mooring, which we have now. So this should bring us more business, more revenue. But that just costs $9,000, and that excludes the hardware, the mushrooms and the anchors and the install and things like that, and the chain. And again, that's an ongoing expense. Luckily, we have Edwards Marine, who helps the city often. And I'm sorry, I should have had my camera on. I apologize. And we should have, he helps the city often, and we may be able to use some used mushrooms, which are quite expensive for something like that.
Those are
And
a
then
type
there's
of anchor for
ongoing.
people, or-
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I just said mushrooms are a type of anchor, just so people aren't confused.
Yes, I'm sorry. So it's a mushroom anchor. You have to raise them and lower them. They'd be about 1,000 pounds. So, a minimum of 500, but there's going to be multiple of those in that configuration. We also want to improve the islands. Last year, I coordinated with the Boy Scout Troop 222 to clean up Shea Island. You may have heard about that, and we want to continue doing that with or without the help of a troop or some other organization. And that is also going to cost us a little bit of money. On Shea Island, the facilities are in disrepair, even though it's not really us to do that. It's Recreation and Parks, but that's where that money is going to be going to. Chris, do you want to expand on anything?
No, I mean there's other reoccurring costs, like besides the harbor master stipend, but there's also the maintenance and expenses regarding the harbor master. The harbor master is quite busy these days with the walk bridge activity and the barges out there, and the restricted vessel movements in the river because of that. We carry contingency for abandoned vessel removal. We don't get that every year, but if for whatever reason a vessel is abandoned on city property or on the city docks or in the harbor, we end up having to pay to have it removed and disposed of. So that can be a reoccurring cost. We also have our planning consultant, which we currently budget about $20,000 a year for. Also secretarial services for the and then Jeff discussed the other main expense is the water quality interns and their expenses, which is I think which is $10,000 to $12,000 a year. And then there's other reoccurring fees for the transient moorings, which Jeff discussed. That's an annual fee of about $2,000. We also have another online service for the moorings for city residents or the permanent moorings. That's another $2,000 a year we pay for that online service that collects all that, and that's what generates our revenue is the mooring fees and transient mooring fees. And outside of that we're that's our only source of income other than whatever we get granted from the city for things, the capital improvements, for example, that Jeff talked about for the dock improvement for the transient docks.
I have
Hi,
questions.
before I turn it to you, Ms. Yang, my first question is just a very simple but difficult at the same time question. You were able to accomplish your entire mission last year without a grant. Why can't that happen again this year?
Well, that is a very good question. We are looking to expand what we have started out to do. So with the expansion, that means more transient moorings. And when I say mushrooms, it's the hardware that, as Chris pointed out, are the anchors. And if this floating dock, which will be put into service this spring, if that ends up working out the way that we anticipate that it will, then we will be continuing to add more of those. And if it is successful towards the beginning, we'll put in another order for another one with approval, of course.
But those would also be revenue generating, which should offset the expense. Why is that not the case?
Sure. So the revenue generating, it's $40 per night per vessel. So it's not as much as you may think. And as far as there is another good reason to go with floating docks is they are not considered moorings. They are considered docks. So currently the Connecticut statute limits for all of our moorings, we can only charge a yearly fee of $200, which is, it could be a 100-foot boat or it could be a 10-foot boat. And we charge by the foot, $5 a foot. So if we could change that in the statute, then that would be even better. But the floating dock is not considered a mooring, and we could charge a going rate of $40 or $50 a foot. Right now, that's for a permanent. It's if somebody was there permanently for the seasonal. But right now, it would only be a transient. We want to see how this is going to work.
I see. Thank you. Ms. Yang,
Yeah.
I believe you had questions.
Or what is your total revenues when you look at that you get $200 a mooring and you have X number of moorings? What's the total?
Okay, so we get $5 a foot, so we can do a maximum of $200. So a 40-foot boat would have to be on each mooring. to get the $200, and a lot of times they're not. They're 25-foot, 30-foot type of thing. So $150, I guess, maybe on average. I didn't do an average, so it's not every mooring gives us $200.
Okay, how many moorings do you have that you collect fees off of?
Chris, do you have that number?
I have the dollar amount. I don't have the number of moorings. So
Sure.
for the last year, we have the finals for 24-25. I guess that's your fiscal year 25. It was 55,853.
And as far as the number of moorings, there is and it fluctuates. It's approximately 150 to 180 moorings that are out on the water.
Does that include the yacht clubs, Jeff?
That does not include the managed fields.
Yeah. Okay. So we also collect. So there's some that we lease, call them leases to the individuals, and then there's some that we that are managed by Norwalk Yacht Club, Rowayton Yacht Club, and Sprite Island Yacht Club, where they manage them for their members. So for example, I have one. I own the mooring ball and the thing. But if I went to a yacht club, they would own it. They would charge me, and they would provide services like a launch. And so Norwalk Yacht Club themselves owns like 50 and leases 40, 50 moorings to their members. And we get a check from them, not from the individuals.
Understood. So if I were to look at your year-end financials, which presumably have some semblance of an audit, what is your revenue for the fiscal year?
The minus city grants was 58,421.
So you only get a $2,000 fee from all the yacht clubs for managing the moorings?
No. The 55,000 included the yacht clubs. The other $200, the other 2,000 was from the day users, the transients. So that's the other thing Jeff was talking about, where we ourselves as the commission are putting moorings out there, and people who visit from anywhere, people transiting up and down the coast or coming over from Long Island will pay by the day for the mooring. So that's a separate program from the annual mooring fees we collect from people locally.
Of the expenses that you listed,
Yeah.
what are your total expenses for that fiscal year?
67,836.
That was your, and so how did you make up for the deficit of 12,000?
Well, there was something we did get it. So I gave you the number without the grant. So we got $3,000 from the health commission, the health department, which we're meant to get every year. We don't always get it, to help defray the water quality interns. And then in that year, we got a $15,000 grant from the city.
But to Mr. Abrams' question, last year you had a grant of $0 from the city. So what were your expenses?
So we're still in that fiscal year, and the budget was 65,750, and the budget was 50. The projected revenues were 54,000. So we're projecting a shortfall, but we had some money left over from the year before. We do have some, so that budget isn't closed yet. So we'll see where that.
And so, Chris, you were about to say how much money you have in the bank. What is your bank?
I think it's around 70,000.
You have a bank balance of around 70,000.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
This is Troy. Following up, Chris, are you the Are you the CFO? What is your position there?
Treasurer.
Okay. So just to clarify this, we didn't give you the 10,000 last year, correct?
Yes.
You're finishing up this year. And you said you might see a little deficit of about 12,000, correct?
Correct.
But you just said you have 70,000 in reserves. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Why are you asking for the 10,000?
Well, part of the reason is to continue our efforts to expand our transient moorings in the floating dock program. And if that works, the city could actually transition from moorings to floating docks as they have done in Milford Harbor, and that's going to be expensive. But then the revenue, instead of a maximum of $200 per boat maximum, you could charge the going rate $40, $50. I mean, it would be also useful to have additional money uh, to work on getting a launch for the city, so that we can go ahead and pick up our transient mooring people. We have lost revenue because we don't have a launch. So if we had a launch, uh, then we would have to pay for an operator to do that as well.
Jeff, you said that you have these are improvements or enhancements to your business or your world that will generate revenue, correct? If it was
That
implemented.
that is correct.
Jeff,
What
quick
is the
question.
idea of these dollar amounts for these improvements you just mentioned?
Well, as I just mentioned, the floating dock
Whatever
is
you've been mentioning, I'm just curious what your expense number is to put that in place.
okay. So $9,000 per floating dock, and that's a 100 square foot dock plus the hardware. If it's anything like the cost of new hardware, then you're talking two anchors. That's $6,000. So now you're up to $15,000 per floating dock.
And would it turn revenue immediately once it's in place? And I assume it would it wouldn't be a long time to put that in place, right?
It wouldn't be a long time to put that in place.
Could you
Edwards
put that in
Marine,
place this season? I'm just saying if you had the funds to do it.
we are putting one in place this season already. So we've already made the commitment to have the builder make that.
And what revenue do you think you'll get from that one you're thinking of putting in year
Well,
one?
yep. So that's going to be a transient mooring for the
Mhm.
time being, and that's $40 per night. We have repeating customers, visitors that come, and it just keeps increasing, and increasing. And sometimes we have to turn them away. So this
And,
this
and Jeff
this
says it's
is
$40 per boat and it can accommodate two boats, right?
that is correct. So it's $40 per boat and that floating dock you put on one side and another side, and it would accommodate two vessels instead of one vessel, which, and then you're hung up for that one mooring. So this makes it easier. It's going to be closer to the city ramps, so that they can actually get in there earlier or quicker, I should say, and no matter what type of weather conditions. And that's another thing that turns people off. We have moorings over in Sheffield Island Bay that we want to move, but because of the barges that are stationed over here in the inner harbor, I call it the inner harbor, we had to move those out to Sheffield Island, and we expect to bring those in. And it would be better to have floating docks, in my opinion, than it is to have single point moorings.
So based on that, you just said, what do you think your payback is? Based on just the one thing that you're already planning, you must have an idea of, is it a 1 year payback? Is it?
No, it would be a multi-year payback. I will try to put put as many vessels on that as we can. We do have some of the moorings are, as I stated, are over in Sheffield Bay. And believe it or not, there are people who love to go over there and just want to stay there. And even though I've tried to convince them to, why don't you come into the harbor? It's a little quicker, easier to get into the city. They love being out by that island. So that's only a few though. But I would think that that $9,000 price of that dock would be a 2-year return, I would think.
And you mentioned the country, the private clubs. How many? You said three, I believe.
Three of
There
them.
are three. There's Norwalk, Rowayton, and Sprite Island.
And you rent them. How much do you get from those? And ask you how much you get received from revenue from those private clubs, whatever you provide.
Yeah, again, it goes by the foot, and they are in charge of giving, and it fluctuates, but they give us a rundown of which vessels are there, and it goes by the total linear footage, registered foot, of those vessels.
Right.
Sprite Island is smaller vessels. Norwalk Yacht Club tend to be larger, and Rowayton Yacht Club tend to be, yeah, a little larger. Chris, do you have the?
I've got the dollar amounts, yeah. So
Yeah,
they pay the same amount as everybody else per, and then they turn around and
So you have three, Chris. Three. What do you get from the three private clubs for your services or the product that you
yeah,
get?
sure. 19,378 from Norwalk Yacht Club. Rowayton was 8,375, and Sprite Island was 3,620 last year.
And forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but are you saying that you rely on the respective clubs to give you an audit of what size boats came to those spots every year?
that is
Yes.
correct. And they are permanently stationed for the season. So that so myself, the harbor master, we will go out and do a spot check on those vessels. And
How many moorings is this, or how many vessels would this be?
mm, it does fluctuate. There has to be a minimum of 50. So it could be anywhere from 50 to 70. Again, it depends.
So you and your team, it's just the two of you, right?
No, no, there are multiple people on the commission. Do you mean
So I'm just
doing
saying,
the
I'm just trying to
moorings?
envision. I'm not a boater. So you
Right.
and your team are going out every year and just saying, "Oh, well, this club said there's 100-foot boat in this, and this is what it is," and you check a checklist or something. I mean, it's kind of strange.
Yeah, Tom. So what they do is they provide the username or the vessel owner name, the ID or the registration number, or the CT number, the type of boat, the length of the boat, and then we go ahead and we go out and we verify that everybody is on the up and up. Um,
Okay, well, that's I'm not thrilled about that. Okay, Ann made a good point. I think Ed made a good point. Sounds like you have the money that you have, and you can generate revenue from you're fortunate. You guys are doing a great job. You have a nice bank account. Sounds like you could fund the projects you want, and that will generate more revenue for you. So that's my points. Thank you,
okay, thank you, Tom.
And
Troy.
anything else related to the Harbor Commission before we move on?
Yeah,
Joey
and
and Josh, go
Joseph.
ahead with hand up.
One thing, I just want to confirm that this is a $10,000 grant request, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, let's continue to move on. I think, Tom, I will acknowledge that all grants will stay as an open item that we'll look at deliberations. But
Yes.
let's move on, please.
Okay, next up is probate court. Let me scroll to that.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And here we are. That's fair housing. We gotta skip that one. Now we're back in order. And here we are with the probate court. And their ask last year was $34,843, up also slightly this year to $34,946. And we have Judge Stern on the line here. Judge, you may proceed.
Yes, hello. Thank you all for having me. I'm here along with Stephanie Bergamo, who's my clerk, who might be in a position to answer some direct questions a bit more specifically. But I'm here to ask for our budget request. Section 45A8 is the statute that sort of governs the municipality's obligation towards its probate courts. We represent Norwalk and Wilton. And we don't collect any revenues. It all goes through the state, and the state takes care of many expenses that we have. But the municipality is here to cover supplies and postage and things like that. And the portion of Norwalk's responsibility, or the entire need, is 47,225. And Norwalk's portion is we're asking for 34,946.
Questions for the judge?
Yeah, Judge, this is Troy Jelleret. I think this came up last year, and I'm not sure how we resolved it. Ann could help me with this, but don't you receive fees for settling the probates? And you said it went to the state, and didn't we ask you to see whether you could petition the state for some of those fees back to cover your expenses? I think that was the discussion last year.
Well, it's sort of an awkward thing to ask for because the state statute requires what the municipalities have to pay for, regardless of the amount of money that the larger probate court admin sends to us for our salaries and in benefits and continuing legal educations. I don't know what there is to ask them for.
Let me add to that. Have you been working this year with our purchasing in order to try to get economies of scale? Or do you order your supplies just independently through Amazon?
Steph, can you comment on that, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We order our supplies through WB Mason. We're unable to have an Amazon account. We can't have a debit card associated with our checking account, so we order through WB Mason.
So you have your own account that you will order supplies through. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't have anything further.
I do have one other question. You talked about the Norwalk portion of the expense versus the Wilton portion of the expense. How did you derive the split across the two different municipalities?
Sure. There's an equation having to do with population that my chief clerk calculates every year. Steph, can you talk a little bit about that?
The statute actually directs us to base it off the grand list numbers. So we took the grand list for Norwalk and Wilton and added them, and Norwalk ends up being responsible for 74%.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Additional questions? Okay, seeing none, Tom, let's continue, please.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next is the Transit District. Last year was 610,885. The original ask for 27 was 660,885,000. We have Matt Pence here, and
Tom, I'm gonna make an introductory remark. That's right.
Yeah, go ahead, Jared.
All right. Thank you. And we had, as we normally would with any of the granted entities or any of the departments, we had a meeting with the transit district to go through their finances and went through pretty comprehensively looked at uh, at their at their finances and their audits, and there was some balances there, and so we suggested to reduce their grant for this year for FY 27. And so the ask that was made of 660, we dropped the city's contribution down to $100,000 for FY 27. And speaking with Matt, he was amenable to and accommodating to be a good partner with the city, and said that he thought that there shouldn't be any impact on their services or any other detrimental impact, so that the amount for FY 27 that the budget includes is $100,000, with the intent to restore the funding in FY 28. And I'll hand it over to Matt at this point to give you some more details about the district and any other details that he would like to convey to you.
Very, very
Thank
quickly
you.
before that.
Yeah.
So the idea is that this would be a one-time reduction that wouldn't immediately impact operations, but if it were to continue over a long period of time, it would impact operations, correct?
That's my understanding, and I'll let Matt talk more to the long-term impact that could potentially play out. But yeah, for 27, it's our understanding that it shouldn't have any detrimental impact on their operation or on their ridership.
And Jared, these balances, where did, how much, where did these excess balances come from that you referred to?
Where did they come from?
You mentioned balances. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Matt talk about the details of it, but part of it was related to ARPA funding that they have, and they might believe that they have until 2029 to spend that money. But I'll let Matt handle those kinds of details.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Joe, Joseph. Not sure what you prefer. Fair question, and Jared and all you guys. I think it's a pretty fair recap of what we're looking at here, understanding sort of the scenario of where we are. The first question regarding the balances. So, I mean, I first want to acknowledge, thank you for last year, right? We went through this last year. We talked about the interest. You guys asked us to look. We do every year have this timing issue of our operating expenses and the point at which we receive state funding. We work with the city. They pointed us to Webster Bank. We explored a couple different avenues, but we're not able to find another funding source with a lower interest rate, unfortunately. We did look at it. Secondly, last year was a big year for the transit districts. Well, this current fiscal year, but we went through the budgeting process last year. We rolled out new routes. We redid our whole network, you may know. And there was discussion about cutting our funding, and we talked about some of the additional funding that we felt were important to put into the efforts and the redesign, and especially for the public to go free fare for 2 months. Fortunately, the cuts that were proposed by this board were not to the extent that were proposed and were restored after a public hearing process. That enabled us to go free fare for 2 months. To help the public and to soften all of the changes, which I believe went better than we had hoped. With that, we have a growth in ridership, about 12% over prior year with our new routes, and that's including the impact of a really rough winter. So we're optimistic that it will be better than that. I think it's very important that it's clear that we're able to, as Jared had mentioned, we're going to be able to maintain our existing services. We're asked to do a lot. When the senior center cut their transportation, everybody looked to us, and some of the local city funding enabled us to help some of the seniors with some of the impact there. So our services are relied on by a lot of people. Regarding the funding, we do have some federal grant funds related to ARPA that we can still use. No other funding source can cover our interest need. We did have some historical accounts receivable from DOT that I've been working really hard to collect on. Had a very productive meeting today of $2.3 million that they owe us. I got a verbal commitment that we will collect 2.1 million of it by the end of this month. So I'm going to try and see that through. I think that's going to alleviate some of our borrowing needs and hopefully reduce the interest expense exposure going forward. That said, Senator Duff has been extremely helpful in helping us with some of our state funding gaps. We have a short-term $300,000 infusion from the state this year for Norwalk ADA services, which typically have been covered by the city, but the state agreement is short-term in nature. So while this is okay for us this year, I do want to emphasize for many reasons, it's very important that it gets restored next year, because as much as we don't want to pay interest, the overall goal is to make sure that the needs for the Norwalk ADA service for the seniors is being met, but also we want to reduce the interest exposure. And the way we want to do that is by building a reserve in the future. So we're not far from doing that. It's just been a lot of work to get to this point. So hopefully that was helpful.
Matt, thank you for giving an update. I'm happy to see that the request is being dropped from 660 to 100,000. Is that correct, Jarrett?
Yes.
Matt, okay.
Yes, for FY27, that's correct.
And what has been your how much is your line again, your line of credit?
It's a $4 million line with the interest rate is prime plus a quarter.
Right. And what was your utilization of it this year?
So we're through
Since last
7
year when we
months.
were there.
That number is like a little over $200,000 in interest, if that's what you're trying to get at.
Ultimately, yeah. And is the city getting quicker repayments? Because that seems to be your issue from the state, if I'm not mistaken, year after year, right? Are you seeing any quicker payments on your receivables from the state?
Yeah, I mean, the long-term outstanding receivables have not gotten quicker. I've had to work really hard on just walking through what's owed to us and getting a commitment that this will get paid. And it's taken a lot of time. But the outstanding stuff from literally going back to fiscal year 20 through 24, we're just about square on. And I think going forward will be smoother in collecting that. So it gets us back to real time. But we're funded every quarter. And I think the issue historically has been, when are we going to get that money? In general, it has been getting quicker. There's usually about a 1 month lag. And it's been consistently about a 1 month lag. So I think that's sort of something we want to plan for, is that there will always be a 1 month lag there. I'm not so sure, DOT, it's a political process. By the time I'm looking at what the budget's going to be for next year, that goes through the legislative process, then it goes to DOT, then they allocate it out to the districts. There's not a whole lot of time to figure that out. So we don't get our budget sometimes until September. There's always this float time. I don't know, DOT's aware of it. I just don't know how to eliminate it altogether. But if you can minimize it down to a month, that's sort of where we're headed.
Matt, has the line, what's the high point of the line in the borrowing?
Probably about 3.2. I mean, it's hard because the other problem is we've been under construction now for almost 3 years. And so it's not just operating money, but it's also capital money. Our capital projects are 80% federal, 20% state. So there's been more money outstanding, but the high point, we're borrowing about 3.2
So you
million.
have 3.2 million on a $4 million line. Are you paying unused fees on that line? Is it a committed facility?
It's just the interest, no other unused fees, just the interest.
So it's not a committed facility. I was a banker, so a committed facility, you pay unused fees if you don't use whatever you use. My point is, if you're only using 3.2, use 3.2 as your line, so you're not paying unused fees. Just make sure you're not paying any.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
And Jared, just to get back to you, excuse me, you've checked into this. I've been asking this for many years, as you know. And you cannot supply them with this line of credit and charge this just a city. You can get a much cheaper rate than that. You're saying you looked into it, Jared, and you cannot offer them the working capital that they need on this?
No, not in any practical way. We're not a bank. We're not a private organization that can do something like that. And we, even if there were some kind of mechanism for doing it, it would definitely tie up our that portion of our fund balance.
And what was this
and
facility?
we
I
can't
didn't hear
afford
the
to, we can't
balances
afford
that
to do
you
that.
talked about earlier. What are the balances you found? How much is there? Dollar amount or?
I mean, we have existing grants, and so, you know, we have 5 different grants. Most of them are targeted for capital expenditures, but we have a couple $1 million left for operating expense, which we need because we still have a shortfall in our coastal link, but we're also able to plug some of the deficit that used to get covered with local money. We think we'll have that through 2029. It's dwindling, but you know, that's why we're less concerned this year, because once we lose that, you know, we need the local money.
All right, thanks, Jared. Thanks, Matt. It's good to see it's down this year. So thank you.
Yeah, and I do want to remind, you know, everybody that it is a service, right? And the finances are important. And I think when we collect the 2.1 from the state, our interest will go down and we'll get funded in a more, you know, timely manner. But the city's changing a lot, right? And it's good for us to change our fixed route network, and it's good for us to do things on the paratransit side. And we've been lucky to have this micro transit program. It's an extra state program that we've had for 2 years. We're petitioning for, you know, at the state level for an extension for another year because ridership has been really healthy here in Norwalk. You know, you have Manresa, so a lot of people come to us asking for help, and we do have constraints with our state funding. So I think, you know, from the city's perspective, it is very helpful to have this municipal contribution. And going forward, I'm looking forward to the conversation because I do think it's important that it's restored. And as I've always said, you know, we do appreciate the city's support. I just, you know, I don't want to lose that because it's a sign of a healthy district and it enables us to respond to the community's needs. So it's more than money here, but we try and balance our resources.
And Jared, they're considered a quasi government entity, right? Does that prime plus, you said 0.25%? Is that that's not what the city of Norwalk pays for working capital, right, Lawrence?
I'm not aware that we have a working capital line of credit.
But that's not a municipal rate. I don't think it is. That seems to be more of a general rate.
It sounds more traditional. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a
Because
municipal.
they are a quasi public. So yeah. Not a
Quasi
not a
government, right? Yeah.
municipality.
It
Yes.
seems like that rate it seems a little high. Can we just look into that?
We did.
And
We did look.
plus
Yeah.
a quarter is for, I mean, a quasi government entity, I think.
Yeah, I worked with Webster and put them in contact with Matt, and Matt followed up with them, and yeah.
Yeah, we have been working on that because I remember that, and their note to me was, you know, they did a full analysis and they said the scale of our operations don't align with their credit tolerances. So I don't know, there's nuances there, but you know, again, I think we collect the 2.1 the state owes us, and then we build a reserve, and none of this is an issue. I don't like the fact that Norwalk Transit has to operate on a line of credit, and I don't think we're too far from getting away from that. So that's where I think our energy should be spent. Not that your point's, you know, not important, but.
And Jared, what is our relationship with Webster Bank? We must have accounts with them on your side, right? I'm sure.
Yes.
Is it a very
That's our
strong?
primary, that's where our primary checking account is.
So I'm sure you're getting the best rate you can possibly get based on that.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
We meet with them, at least once a year, and you know, and more so, and are constantly pushing them to, you know, for any money that they're holding, make sure we're getting the best rate on the funds that we have, best interest rate on the funds that we have. And so yeah, we're in constant contact with them.
When I was a commercial,
they have been or will be purchased by another bank.
Yeah,
You
I
probably
saw
know
that.
that.
I saw that, but I mean, when I was a commercial banker, I was on the commercial side at Chase, and we had a municipal team, and the pricing was totally different because it was based on the risk and the strength of the respective municipalities. Were a triple A rated city. So if you're being told that that's the right rate, I've been out of it for a while. I respect your opinion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Troy. Any additional questions?
Yes, Anne has questions, of course.
Please, Ms. Yang.
Matt, what is your cash balance?
We have 3 accounts and it fluctuates. It's a sweep account. I actually don't know it right now, but it would be in the negative because we're constantly relying on the credit line.
Okay.
And actually, to answer your question, we had to put 1.7 million in reserve so that's essentially our debt is $1.7 million because of all the old money that the state owes us. Now, once we collect 2.1, we should be back to even, but we're still working on finalizing some issues from fiscal year 25. So this agency's been in debt. It was $3.3 million back in 2018. I think when we close fiscal year 25, we should be about whole, and then we could just build up from there.
What is the aggregate level of funding you have visibility out to 2029? Is it 5 million, 10 million, 2 million?
So you're talking about are you talking about the grants?
You said that you have ARPA funding. You have some ARPA funding through 2029.
Yeah, that's one of our grants that we have left. It's currently about $5 million, depending on how some of these issues for fiscal year 25 shake out. It may be, there's like $1.7 million in question. There's a whole nuance of issues, which are contingent on what we get for state funding for fiscal year 25. We're either going to get an additional amount from the state, or we're going to have to use some of this 5 million. But 5 million is the number. It may be less than that depending on how we close fiscal year 25.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. Any additional questions? All right. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate the update. Tom, where are we off to next?
Last one is redevelopment agency. We scroll down to that. This is a year over year. This was an easy one. 500,000 last year, 500,000 this year. Tonight we have
Stephen.
With us. There he is. Go ahead, Stephen.
Good evening, everybody. The $500,000 request is our minimum request to maintain current staff operation levels. This includes grant administration, applications for grants and other city activities within the urban core and outside of it, as we coordinate with DPW, TMP, the mayor's office, and anybody else that might have a need to collaborate with. I'd leave it open to questions, since this is a substantially similar application to last year. That way I'm not rambling on too long about anything that you guys already know.
Thank you, Stephen, Ms. Troy. What's your dollar amount of grants you guys raised on this past calendar year for the city?
Active grants is about 50 million.
Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you.
Ivan, is it Brian Bedoli who runs North Redevelopment?
Yep, he's our executive director.
Is there a reason why he's not presenting today?
He is out of the country currently, so there's a time zone difference. If you do have any separate questions for him or would like to speak to him, happy to set up a separate meeting with him, or any responses needed. It's just a time zone difference. It's currently, I think, 2 a.m. for him.
How long has he been out of the country, and when is he anticipated to return?
He has been out for about a year now. This hasn't affected any kind of current operations. He makes his time available as he needs to earlier on in the day for us, and for anything that he needs to. I don't have an exact return date. I know he is back in April for a little bit, but he is actively working, and we haven't had any cease of function because of it. I just get to fill in sometimes instead of him when it's a time difference.
And what country is he living in?
He is in Germany right now.
And what is his compensation?
If you don't mind, I'm not exactly seeing how it's pertaining to the request. If you don't mind, may I let him email you that separately, since we're on a...
We're talking about the financials of the North Redevelopment. And within the it includes compensation, it includes head count. So I would like to know, what is the head count, and what are the salaries, and what are the respective salaries of all the individuals that work for the North Redevelopment Agency?
Sure. If you don't mind, if we can provide that through an email, because I don't have the information readily available, we're happy to give it to the group as an email to support the wage request.
That would be great.
Okay. Yep.
If you could, in that provision, if you can provide us your financials, presumably they're audited financials.
Yep.
for the last, year, this year, and projected, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yep, we have that. And so we'll put that together for an email for you guys. Just again, sorry to veer away from the question. I don't have the exact answer off the top of my head, so we'll follow up with an email to the group.
Can I follow up on that real quick, Stephen? What is your role there?
I am the director of housing and capital projects. So
How long have you been there?
I've been here since 2018.
Okay. And did you say this is news to me? Does he live in Germany? I mean,
So he's currently on a working. He's getting his PhD. Is the short of it. He is working while doing this. The short of it is that the PhD is to facilitate Norwalk for a special taxing district, using Norwalk as the case study, and publishing multiple studies for Norwalk for the implementation of a special taxing district that will hopefully be able to generate additional revenue for Norwalk. Again, so that I'm not misquoting him, if this is a question, I would ask that, just given the time difference, you allow him to answer this question directly, but that is the summary of it.
is Norwalk paying for this degree? Where is he going to school? Oh,
No,
where is he
he's
going? I mean,
it's either University of Berlin. I think it's University of Berlin. He's paying for that himself. So he is actively working throughout this in coordination with the city. Just
is
a
it
little bit
any,
more.
what percentage of his time is he spending on the city of Norwalk versus this program he's in?
He is a guru, and I don't think that he sleeps. He is maintaining active working hours.
So
But he is not available for in-person meetings.
As need be, he would facilitate. So again, he is willing out of his
when
own.
is this program going to be completed?
Again, I think it's best if
I
we
mean,
let
this is
Brian
news, Stephen.
answer.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I didn't realize I mean, last year I didn't realize. How long has he been doing this? I didn't realize he was living in Germany.
It's been about a year, but again, we're maintaining current operational level. He is available during all working hours, and it's just in this specific
So he's
situation.
giving 100% of his time to Norwalk during, I guess, his business hours or business his
Correct.
assignment in Norwalk.
Correct.
It's not like an executive MBA or something.
No,
where
he is not on vacation.
Not, I didn't say vacation.
Oh, yeah.
But an executive MBA, sometimes Fridays, they go to school full day. But as far as you know, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, he's working for the city of Norwalk.
8:30 to 5.
Okay.
Can I ask a really basic question? If he's in the University of Berlin in Germany, how is that relevant to developing a special taxing district for the city of Norwalk in the United States?
Again, if so that I'm not speaking for him, if you'd like to, I will again have him provide this information either via an email or a separate meeting. I don't want to speak for him on this because it's not my decision and I don't have control over it. It would be best if he would speak to you directly on this. So again, not to get away from the question. It would be best if we speak to him directly, and I will raise it as an issue or as a question to him, and allow him to respond.
I think that's fair, Stephen. You please convey it to him. An initial response in email or writing, with the request to follow up with a live discussion as needed, please. I think you've heard enough of the comments from the board here about not necessarily the concern, but the confusion about how this benefits the city of Norwalk, how his time is spent, how he is available as needed for the city.
So
get all of those details, please.
His time is spent within the summary of the application. Anything that he's doing for schooling is outside of, again, normal working hours. And I will let him provide an email for further response.
Yes, and
Thank you.
just face, just one more comment, excuse me.
Sure.
Just let let him know that this is an important meeting for once a year for us. I don't know what the Common Council does, but this is a very important meeting for us for your $550,000 grant. And I'm disappointed he's not here online to Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, I will again reiterate that to him. I did present last year and was available last year. So apologies, but as a staff member of the redevelopment agency, I'm prepared to talk about the actual grant request and the use of funds. I just feel that it'd be better for him to answer anything outside of that because it is on the more personal side.
Absolutely. And this is in no way intended to imply or infer that you are anything other than qualified to represent.
No, that's
the
okay.
views.
That's okay. I'm not
You
taking it as
we
such. It's
understand.
just kind of yeah.
Okay. All right. So you understand the ask there. Any additional questions related to the grant itself, please?
I'm
I
sorry,
have no
Mayor.
question about the grant, but I am going to share just a bit of information that I have, because that is, certainly, as I came on as mayor, I had a question about that. My understanding is Brian was given approval by the Redevelopment Authority for this program, to take this program.
Yep.
So it was approved. I will say that he has been available to me anytime that I have needed to speak with him, and he and I had a Zoom meeting just yesterday.
Yep, and this, to Mayor Smith's point, this was not a hidden fact. This is something that had been discussed. The original question answered was, why is Brian not on this meeting? To the response was that he is currently out of the country, and there's just a major time difference, and that is why I am primarily here. He is happy to speak to anybody. If you feel it's better to talk to Brian instead of myself on this. Again, happy to set up another meeting for future years. I don't think he's going to be there for the next time this comes around. I don't think that he's still going to be there, but we'll reiterate the point that people feel that he should be on instead of myself. And again, it's not a professional thing or that I'm not qualified to answer, and I'm not taking it as such. But I'll stress the point to him.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yep.
I believe Ms. Yang, you had one other follow-up, or did I misunderstand?
You didn't misunderstand. Mr. Ivan, when you provide the data on the personnel, could you please also provide if these people are in office or
Yep.
out of online, and if they're online, if they are in Norwalk? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any additional questions here? All right, seeing none. Madam Mayor, any closing remarks this evening?
Just thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the BET members and all the departments who have been through this process of presenting and answering questions. And we meet next on the 23rd, correct?
That is correct.
Yes, and we'll begin our deliberations. And I know that we have our capital budget process too. So I'll let you close that out, Chair Abrams. Thank you.
All right.
To
Thank
everyone.
you, Madam Mayor. Any additional comments before we close? Seeing none, may I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Ms. Troy.
Thank you, Troy. We are adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody. We will speak again as a group on the 23rd. Have a nice night, all.
Good
Thank
night.
you, everybody.
Night, everyone. Thanks.